Alright gamers, so far the big new turn for Death Battle has funnily enough reflected its own early days. Season 4 got the show on the road like Season 1 did, and Season 5 refined and innovated on their formula like Season 2 did. So, by connections, any non-Death Battle fans would think that this season's gonna be really disappointing and mid, right? Wait for the next Death Battle ranking and then you'll see, but this season's pretty good too.
It didn't bring too much to the table though. They removed the funny little fight graphic at the beginning of each fight, but I like that because it better immerses us into the experience and it gives the animators more flexibility. Wiz also stopped saying this.
All right, the combatants are set. Let's end this debate once and for all.
And instead started saying this.
All right, the combatants are set and we've run the data through all possibilities.
Which again, I prefer. It better epitomizes their methodology. And like, is there really gonna be a debate going on with something like Omni-Man versus Homelander? Come on now. What else? Oh, Screw Attack died and rebranded to the Death Battle channel. Screw Attack basically merged into Rooster Teeth, and since all the Screw Attack channel was doing were Death Battle videos, it was basically the end of an era, but a change everyone expected. I'll still miss it though, so I propose a Cum Chalice toast in their honor. Now here are the rules: animation, verdict, and opinion. What, did you think I was joking in my Season 5 ranking? Bro, I'm fucking unstoppable. If this is your first exposure to my content, man, I'm so sorry, but you can watch those other rankings in a sec. For now, let's just get it on. Yeah, imagine. Believe it or not, Season 6 only has one episode I can for sure say I don't like very much. Even then, when it comes to Aang versus Edward Elric, well, it's the best worst episode I've talked about so far. Yeah, not a fan of the analysis. It's where I really began to notice the stigma Death Battle has for a while, where it feels like they give way more of a shit about versus junk than, like, the characters. You would think that it's a no-brainer, since, you know, this is a versus show, but not taking enough care to talk about the characters as characters could really harm the animation, since someone who doesn't know a certain character could get a hilariously wrong first impression. And even if that doesn't apply to this episode, which, oh dear Christ, we'll get to, it just makes for a dull analysis. Also not helped by Ben being sick whenever he recorded this, but his audio's all over the place compared to Boomstick and the background track. It's just weird. Credit where it's due though, since they're talking about a Full Metal Alchemist character, I thought they were just gonna make that one fucking joke that anime Twitter loves to do, but as it turns out, they instead drug a different unfunny joke to the ground. Good job for teaching me that FMA fans have two jokes instead of one, I guess. Yeah, pretty much all of Ed's dialogue is him screaming about how he's not short, which sure, I guess Ed doesn't like being called that, and I guess sure, Ed can be a hothead at times, but my god, someone shoved this kid in a locker! Even if all Ed does in canon is scream about how he's not short, to have about half of his dialogue consist of these one-liners is repetitive at best, character bastardization at worst, and annoying at all circumstances. And somehow, Aang has it worse! Sure, he acts about as you'd expect for the bulk of the fight, but when he goes into the Avatar state, it all goes to hell. Consider, Aang actively avoided trying to kill the Fire Lord Ozai, famous for just not being very nice most of the time, and spent the entire final fight finding ways to subdue the threat rather than actually killing him. Well, throw that away because some kid trying to crush him under some rocks leaves him with no choice but to obliterate him?
I get it, it's a death battle, and one of the rules makes it so certain personalities prevent a character from killing, but it's not impossible to find a workaround with, like, you know, decent writing. Fuck's sake, they were on the right track earlier, but no, just deliberately destroy someone because we gotta abruptly end our fight in a low-impact explosion death anyway. Jesus.
Okay, Tai, this is a ranking of death battles, not character butcherings. So shoving all that aside, the combat is... it sure is. It's not terrible, but it's just really whatever. There's one moment of bending and alchemy interacting where Aang uses the fountain water and Ed funnels it out in a macaroni shape, and that's pretty neat. But that's it. It felt less like a battle between bending and alchemy and more like, oh hey, I remember that thing from the analysis, and just shove a bunch of stuff one by one and maybe some stick combat here and there in between. The actual fighting isn't terrible, but the wretched writing made it an easy pick for the bottom spot. It's another Mewtwo versus Shadow case where not understanding the characters in a show where the whole point is coming up with what would happen if two characters meet annihilates the chance of a good final product. But at least there's not an oh my god I'm glowing moment. Maybe I should be legally allowed to kill people.
Guess what? Death Battle likes to do Marvel and DC stuff sometimes.
Gotta give props to Captain Marvel vs. Shazam for not being the third Marvel vs. DC episode in a row to be at the bottom spot of my rankings, by virtue of either its competition being that bad and or actually being a decent episode. Shazam's analysis had some surprisingly entertaining jokes. I quite liked it, but they also used that one goddamn superhero song they use a lot, and I'm suffering. The fight is, well, not bad, perfectly serviceable, like the most 6 out of 10 of all time. And considering this is the second episode I'm talking about this season, take that as a sign, boys. The setup is kinda lame but passable given Shazam is actually a kid and I would believe he tried to run rather than explain. Binary doesn't at least look like a travesty like she did in her fight with Android 18, but she also decides to try to murder the fuck out of Shazam after seeing that he's a kid. Yeah, okay. Like, I could talk about the intricate choreography of the fight, but why? It's in a funny area where it's cape shit at its purest form, but just good enough to not have all the negative connotations surrounding that term. Pretty visuals and excellent voice performances give this a leg up over most of the other Marvel vs. DC garbage I've had to sit through. Although I like the idea of the death and the shot of Shazam revving up that big boy punch, it's yet another wide shot of an explosion and then bam, fight's over. My goodness freaking gracious. I do not have much to say about this one. It's good, but not good, if you know what I mean. Which, wait, you mean to tell me I don't care an awful lot about an episode that had a crypto trading platform as a sponsor? Oh my gosh, no way! Alright, third episode in and I'm already getting a little silly with this ranking. Aside from my bottom 2 and top 5, ranking these episodes was my personal hell. Don't let the low placement fool you. We're already at the point where I can most confidently say I like these episodes overall. And I've already flipped and flopped most of these placements like a billion times over. So I had to get real petty with how I decided these rankings. So let's press forward with the matchup that I have the least personal attachment to. Aquaman vs. Namor. Whoa, the Marvel vs. DC premiere is the one I have little attachment to? Say it isn't so! They used that same superhero song for this one too, and it was the first one to do it. Let's freaking go! Get ready for the most nuclear take in this video. I think this episode is pretty good. The analysis was enjoyable, had some fun jokes, Boomstick died on screen, all is well. Get ready for my other most nuclear take. The fight is also pretty good. Although one thing I cannot believe they didn't discuss is how Aquaman surprisingly has a mild case of scoliosis. Which, hey, I would too if I had to carry an episode. He gets all the best lines and puts his Chad Lord demeanor on full display. He calls Namor a terrific dumbass and says, "Have at it, boys, 10 out of 10 by default." Not to discredit Namor either, him getting pissed over a wee splash was funny, as his ability to summon these goofy boys. But it does feel like another case of the one guy show featuring a terrific dumbass rather than the one guy versus a terrific dumbass, so oh well. The combat is mostly kind of standardish until they really begin duking it out in the ocean. Following the line that Scorsese pisses and shits himself over, Aquaman's flippy dippy teleport combo with all the sharks surrounding it and the final clash is just so sick. They're in the deepest depths of the ocean having one last showdown, lit only by the anglerfish, as Aquaman reveals his one last advantage over Namor to land one of the most gruesome kills of this show. I don't know why or how they made Aquaman catching his own trident as Namor's fucked head floats in the ocean feel satisfying, but it is. They also do that thing in the conclusion again, where they say the fight was very close and explicitly say that Aquaman was over 100 billion times stronger than Namor and scaled to someone who moved 1,000 times light speed versus only 1,000 times sound speed. If you boys at home are just reeling at the revelation that I think an episode is pretty good or solid, then you might want to sit down. It's gonna get even crazier from here. I didn't intend to start 2 segments in a row with the exact sentiment of just because an episode ranks low on this list specifically doesn't mean I think the episode is bad, but you know what? I feel like I gotta really phone that in because we are already gonna talk about Mob vs. Tatsumaki, an episode I feel like everyone loves and I very much enjoy it too. However, since the reins the ranking are left to this idiot, I gotta be a little petty with how I order things around, and this one didn't do, well, as much for me to be honest. Which is a fat shame because this fight goes hard. Mob and Tatsu throw out a ton of psychic abilities, throw around a billion debris in buildings, and do many flippy dippy things throughout the fight with crazy effects and shot compositions. It stays batshit throughout and only escalates further as Mob's percentage meter rises. On that note, which I should preface that I haven't seen Mob Psycho 100 or One Punch Man, so I'm only going off of what they said in the analysis portion, so please forgive me if I say something stupid and dumb and stupid. But I like how Mob doesn't arbitrarily start at 0% because LOL, that's a number thing. It starts at 40 because, well, I can assume getting lost really stinks, and only continues to rise when Tatsu shows up and does her Tatsu thingy Chinese. Mob even plays exclusively on defense till he goes 100, then really holds his own. And that's not even mentioning the haunting question mark percentage transformation with the music going all staticky and the hand-drawn face reveal. I don't know Tatsu even remotely, but it's one of the few instances that made me feel scared for a specific combatant. The ending also had me on the edge of my seat with Tatsu getting beat down, bloodied, twisted, and mangled like a Five Nights at Freddy, only for that meteor to come in and save her ass at the literal last second. So, number 13, huh? What's going on there, idiot? Well, for starters, I don't love Tatsu. I get that it's her personality and that she's accurately portrayed. It's just not something I'm super into. And I know that's 100% on me. But the biggest thing for me is all the changing art styles throughout, which, again, I get considering the mangaka's inconsistent art style and how there's like a whole heckin' load of animators on board. But for me, it kind of takes me out of it at times. It's like the fight doesn't know if it really wants to be sprites or hand-drawn, so it tries to do a whole lot and ends up as not really being either, just its own thing, which, for the record, sounds good on paper, but it's not something like Saitama versus Popeye, where the change in medium is directly intentional with the fight. It's multiple artists with multiple different art styles, which all of them are very talented. It's just that I noticed that way more rather than what's actually happening in the fight. Very good fight with just enough to bog it down for me. Sorry, boys. Black Widow vs. Widowmaker is a surprisingly good episode, and nobody cares about that because I'm dumb enough to admit I liked it more than Mob vs. Tatsu. There were a few things I took away from the analysis. For one, I appreciate we're at the point that Boomstick can still go ahim without him coming off like a pest, which was one of my biggest concerns given the Overwatch community is full of fucking Pixar interns or something. For how many times I've given them shit for the horny jokes, I want to make it clear I'm not outright against Boomstick seeing a female and go awooga. I mean, have you seen the Warzone that is my Twitter page and likes lately? Other than that, I had some good jokes with decent payoffs. Shoutouts to Boomstick. The fight, meanwhile, is like top 2 atmospheres ever. A chase battle in a snowy night city with those little guitar licks from Widow's Kiss is just mwah, mamma mia. I love how Natasha walks around with the most giant gun of all time in the middle of the city with pedestrians just walking around not even caring. On the note of the chase scene, I like how it takes up most of the fight given Widowmaker's fighting style, and they go through most of the city taking pot shots at each other. It's different and different's cool! There's not a whole lot that happens admittedly. Both Widows fight at a distance, then the Ferris wheel shenanigans that admittedly go on a little too long for my liking, big fisticuffs, and then bam it ends. But they at least flow the set pieces well enough for me, and they at least convey Natasha's tenacity and willingness to make whatever sacrifice she needs to reach her goal very well, like rigging the motorcycle with an explosive to obliterate the drone and the Ferris wheel, as well as taking a few stabs with a glass shard just to get an opening.
This was Torian's first project back since Ryu vs. Jin, so say it with me, everybody. The hand-to-hand choreography is animated very nicely, except for this one weird grapple hook animation, but yeah, pretty good stuff.
Shut up, you stupid. The death is also really good with Natasha choking Widowmaker out with a funny line and then backflipping to decapitate her. Dear God. The only thing is that Widowmaker's yell was kind of weak and doesn't convey the pain super well, but they also golden tree the Doomfist glove thing when they were like, Widowmaker took a punch from this big fist, but it was actually in the hands of a child. And you could tell the kinds of gymnastics they had to pull during Widowmaker's rundown as if she stood any chance in a one-on-one close quarters confrontation with Black fucking Widow. For anyone in chat dying for a comparison between Black Widow versus Widowmaker and Beast versus Goliath, that was for you. Ghost Rider vs. Lobo is the 10th episode of the 16-episode lineup and the last Marvel vs. DC episode of the season, which shouldn't be a funny factoid to me, but it is. The analysis had some quirky jokes, a Boomstick dad joke that didn't make me groan, the same don't eat your feelings away, it's unhealthy, drink them instead joke from 4 episodes prior, but I admittedly thought it was funnier here, and another Deadpool cameo to foreshadow his fight with the mask. Yeah, cool, great, awesome, die. The fight had about what I would expect between the two, a fun little motorcycle chase, a brief and standard hand-to-hand, destruction, inflation, it's the whole package. The voice acting is on point here. Jason Marknocha, I hope to dear holy fuck I'm pronouncing that right, as Lobo gets all the inflections and the personality down to a T. Stephen Kelly's Ghost Rider was good, but it didn't stack up until Zarathos came to play. Until then, Ghost Rider was just a wee bit annoyed at Lobo's shenanigans, but Zarathos, no, he's big Angie mode and is just done with him at this point. The filters on his voice make him one of the scariest combatants Death Battle ever wrote. Honestly, I put this episode this high up because of everything that happens when Zarathos shows up. Not to say everything before then is bad, in fact they made it work about as well as they could have. It's just that his bloodlust to annihilate Lobo as they both destroy their bodies and the country they're fighting on dialed up the insanity to like 40 million, and the death is one of the best ones ever. Ghost Rider's initial penance stare flopped, fell off even, but Zarathos repeating his opening line, now immensely angrier, as Lobo tries to avoid the stare by the skin of his teeth, literally. As Lobo feels the weight of his sins crushing him, Zarathos gets his own Vor moment. Never mind, this death sucks. Even Boomstick plugging his own shirt was funny. How did we get here? Yeah, I don't have a lot to say here. It's just a solid episode that got better and better, and it didn't even make the top 10 of my list. Oh no, what a sin. That makes my sins innumerable. I sure hope no red-faced skeleton guy grabs me by the neck and stares at me and then eats me.
I'm glad I got my big old disappointment of the season thing out of the way in the last ranking, because honestly, I think season 6 is the one season I can think of that doesn't have a standout disappointment. Watch me try anyway.
If there's one episode I wish I liked way more, not gonna lie, Wiz, I think Sasuke vs. Hiei is the closest to a seasonal disappointment for me. Which is strange because not only are we almost at the halfway mark and I'm only just now getting on this topic, but there's a whole lot to love with this episode. I was at least looking forward to it when it was announced, since I'm one of the 4 people that think Sasuke is one of the best characters in Naruto, and I was very much looking forward to learning about Hiei. And no duh, I like the episode we got, but for me, a decent chunk of the positives come with some pretty glaring caveats. The analysis was okay, had a lot of jokes that sure did attempt the funny ha-has, I'll hand it to him. They used the "is this a pigeon" meme and it sucks, but it had a few jokes that actually did get the funnies out, so, you know, fair. I think they covered both characters well enough, though it did feel yet again like just listing versus junk above all else. On the topic of Wiz and Boomstick using words, I'm gonna get this out of the way too, the conclusion reeks. It's another case of this was one of the closest fights ever in death battle history, and explicitly lowball defeat Hiei's skill to say he's 5,000 times stronger. Alright, they said Sasuke clinched several advantages, while the only ones were speed and experience. With the former, they said Sasuke was certainly faster, and then went on about how it's unlikely he was that much faster, and then went on about hierarchy of spirit classes while not making any actual point. And it doesn't even matter anyway, because he's still faster! And the latter, about experience, they just said Sasuke technically had more and never elaborated on that. Alright. Anyways, the fight. Look, it's good, but I don't have much to say on it. It ticked all the boxes I would hope for in a fight like this. Sick sword combat, Sasuke's illusions, Hiei's funny dragons, the Susanoo, even a great one-stroke duel with an awesome death. It's nice stuff. I'm sure you didn't hear all those asterisks. Okay, it had all this stuff there, but very little of it actually flowed well enough. It feels less like a dynamic between two edgy boys and more like just throwing out techniques and then just waiting until the next technique is thrown out. Imagine trying to strip down the original Goku versus Superman into a 3-minute fight. Sure, it's easy to get all the key moments, but by not having everything in between, it feels a lot more haphazard and especially stripped of character. And that's what it felt like here. Sure, there's not a lot you can do with either of these characters as characters, and yes, for the most part, they do nail the spectacle, but there's so little time dedicated to each section that hardly anything stuck with me. Sure, the illusion scene had way more time than anything else while still being as long as I would expect, but it had by far the most predictable payoff out of any possible interaction. I know I ranked this above a decent chunk of other fights and I had way more negative things to say here, but if it means anything despite all the flaws, I still enjoyed it. I was happy with everything they gave the characters. On my first watching, I popped off when I saw Kirin. The battle track absolutely fucks. The sword combat in Chidori had mega oomph. And do I have to mention the end again? They created a whole forest, the one-stroke duel was sick, and Hiei won not only by getting the killing blow, but several actually. If it means anything, I see a great blueprint for a phenomenal episode, but what we got, I wish I liked it more. Oh man, oh boy, if there's any single episode this season that had absolutely everything going against it to be good, I can't think of any other episode at the top of my head that best fits that bill than Weiss vs. Mitsuru. It's the next Ruby episode in a post-Yang vs. Tifa era, where that episode is infamous for the amount of gymnastics they had to do to justify a Yang W, all the while coming out after the literal most controversial death battle episode ever made, which is really scary that I still haven't talked about that episode yet. Oh geez. Hell, coming back to it now was concerning, since the episode after is the epitome of I never knew I wanted this so badly, and needless to say, that's a hellish sandwich. Thankfully, they learned their lesson, and that it's okay if a Ruby character loses, and even if they win, they don't have to push the envelope, thank fuck. Analysis was alright. For every godlike explosion cutaway, they had Naoto and Yukari. It's okay, guys, you'll get there one day. Let's get to the fight, and right off the bat, the setup is lame, in that there is no setup. They immediately cut to them swinging with a first-person shot that would be cool if not for Weiss's noodle arm, but aside from that, Look, it's another fight with Torian in it. What do you want from me? Even still, I like how it tries things that Torian doesn't normally do. Mainly with the flowy little sword trails, it's a neat decision that looks cool and also makes sense given the elegance of Weiss and Mitsuru. Both voice performances are solid and their attitudes are very much in character. Weiss even gets to call Mitsuru Ice Queen and immediately understands the bit. Honestly, you love to see it. There's a brief but really awesome section of Armagigas and Artemisia fighting in the back while Weiss and Mitsuru duke it out, and even occasionally interacting with each other, like Mitsuru's sick slide underneath the big sword. Like, come on, that's, I'm gonna say it again, fun! The ending also starts off phenomenally. After a tense final moment between Weiss's time dilation and Mitsuru's fuck off nuke, Weiss is taken aback and questions how powerful Mitsuru is, only for her to essentially tell Weiss to get fucked as she immediately summons Artemisia back and heal her to full, as her shocked mug is front and center. Like, wow, dude. And she realizes she's boned as she even tries to fight until the very end, and of course that's where it all goes down the shitter. For one, what was her plan? Weiss just charges at Artemisia, doesn't even look like she revs an attack or even prepares to swing her blade, just a little jog. Alright, great. And the actual killing blow is just Mitsuru pointing the sword that only looks like it barely touches Weiss's chest. But nope, the ice cage explodes and apparently she's dead. Awesome death, guys, really. Also, best girl died. That's not very based, but it's okay. Wiz and Boomstick get fur coats, and you know, maybe I judged this episode a little too harshly. Let's just move on. Wario vs. King DDD pulled off something incredible, unheard of, never before seen. Decent fart jokes. In all seriousness, I was looking forward to this one because it's a Nintendo gaming death battle. Give it to my bloodstream. Also, given the nature of both combatants, I was at least hoping for some decent comedy. Unfortunately, I did not get that. I got pretty good comedy. I know, what a bummer. It had the iconic thick with 2 or 3 C's line, and Boomstick gushed about how cute Waddle Dees are. He sees the vision, and now so must you. I know you aren't immune to Waddle Dee propaganda. They even get ironic comedy out of this because they call Magalore Magalon. This episode's a jack of all trades. The fight also carries over the goofiness I would expect. This is probably the most expressive sprite fight of the season, possibly up there in the entire show's catalog. They toy with the facial expressions and make a bunch of custom rigs, and none of it feels janky, especially not with all the other sprite fights so far that made custom mouth animations at a lower pixel density and looked like ass. I like how they both start off in their big boy forms rather than start at base and then maybe whip them out later. I mean, both are known for wanting to upstage their rivals, and they're in a cage match, so it's probably the best and most immediate example of demonstrating their showboaty attitude. DDD even waves at the Waddle Dee. I do that. But a Waddle Dee also gets recoiled by a gong and then does this fucking thing too. I do that. I also appreciate them getting their more obscure abilities like Wario's Fire Dragon Hat and DDD's Ice Hammer. It's a bizarre combination of not something I immediately think of when pitting these two together, but also being one of the most obvious interactions they could have done based on the analysis, and somehow I enjoyed it a lot because of that. The death is also amazing. The comedic timing is excellent. We get a last second Waddle Dee content, and for some reason this is one of the few deaths to destroy the planet they fought on. Never mind the amount of planet busters we have gotten before and since. Wario vs. DDD beats a majority of those in that aspect. How? Also, directly calling back to an offhand comment Boomstick made about Goros being a pain in the ass is godlike. I wanted to put this higher because of how enjoyable everything is, but putting it simply, I just enjoy the other episodes more. But if I had to come up with legit negatives, I don't know, the fight often feels slow in a lot of areas. I mean, it makes sense given the combatants, but I mainly mean slow in pacing. Like, a lot of set pieces kind of meander for a bit. I appreciate the backstory bits as to why they're fighting, but them realizing who each other actually are, why they're fighting, and the Goomba and Waddle Dee putting the pieces together took almost 40 seconds. Like, you couldn't trim any of that down. Also, despite the good death, it is yet another death resulting in a wide shot explosion. Are you fucking me, man? I feel like with much better pacing, this would have been an immediate top 5 choice, but the fact that the content is great to begin with and that we're only halfway through this ranking shows how cracked this season really was. Well, boys, was it worth it? Was it worth shoving Deadpool cameos in other episodes where at best it was just mildly unfunny, and at worst being one of the biggest contributing factors to why one of my least favorite episodes is one of my least favorite episodes? Was it worth all the turmoil and tribulations to reach us at the penultimate finale episode of Season 6, Deadpool vs. The Mask? Was it worth it?
Yes.
Right out of the gate, you know this episode is going to be special, which is funny considering Deadpool's other 2 episodes tried to be special and different and quirky, and, well, one of them worked. When the tagline is just 3 simple words: let's kill Deadpool. They waste no time getting to the point. They're pitting Deadpool against an obviously unbeatable foe in what is literally a spite match. And it's fucking cool. All they had to do was make the writing not painful. For once, all the jokes are at Deadpool's expense, rather than him just flaunting around about how great he is. And even then, the jokes work. Sure, Deadpool gets some funny moments like him tweaking the prompter to mess with Boomstick and him getting cut off before the Blue Apron ad, but honestly, Wiz and Boomstick stole the show. They both bounce off each other and Deadpool very well. They're making a bullshit feat since me every single time, and even after Deadpool's rundown is done, they still get fun moments like Wiz getting confused about his own mask metaphor and Boomstick calling him a dumbass. It's great. Jay Schlatt even makes a cameo. How nice. The fight is hardly a fight, it's more of a gag than anything, but you know, I still gotta call it like it is. The fight is nice. The few bits of combat are animated well, and they each get to demonstrate their own style of comedy, like Deadpool making fun of the Mask by calling him Majora's Mistake, and Mask, yeah. I like how the continuity gem uses previous controversial episodes as a visual indicator. I think it's neat, and they single-handedly willed Link vs. Cloud 2 into existence. Automatically goated. They better not do Rogue vs. Wonder Woman 2, I swear to God. And from there, things get a little kooky, a little silly even. I like how the premise shifts into them needing more budget for the fight, so they discuss that in the storyboards, and then the live-action bit of them going door-to-door to raise money and jokes that were outdated in 2 seconds after release. But hey, it had more of an impact than anything Nightwing vs. Daredevil tried to do, and honestly, that might be the greatest punchline of all. It results in a musical number about Deadpool realizing that he's cringe. That was kind of cute. I literally just realized he planned on coming back through the continuity gem during this moment. What the hell? I love how the final clash syncs up with the music. Deadpool even has a near identical decapitation as the Mask, even with contrasting backgrounds. That's so cute. They should kiss. And yeah, he gets nuked, and bam, fight's over. Deadpool comes back. All is normal and sane and normal.
This was a weird episode to look back on because honestly, I like the analysis way more than the fight, which, now I'm saying that out loud, wow, analyses do have more of an impact on these rankings than I thought, huh? Guess that's what I get for disregarding 85% of an episode. But you know, historically speaking, whenever Death Battle does different things, more often than not, it turns out well because, hey, different's just so cool, right? In any other season, this would have easily been like top 3 or something for me. But, you know, I'm okay with how it ended up here. I wonder what other episode has surpassed it. It's unfortunate that Death Battle's largest controversy in the show is what we all know Ben 10 versus Green Lantern for. It is the most divisive Death Battle of all time. A factoid that fucking baffles me considering I've covered both Goku versus Superman episodes, but sure, it is what it is. I hate to be both a choir preacher and a broken record, but I need to reiterate that I do not care about Death Battle's final decision on what should be the winner. But why? Is it because that in the event I would debunk a Death Battle episode, I admittedly know not a damn thing what I'm talking about and I'm too lazy to get on that? Yes, but there's more than that. Information is vast and widespread on our green and blue earth, so you could just as easily find correct and valuable information arguing for character A as you would for character B, which is exactly why versus debating is ultimately subjective. My fattest kudos to all you Death Battle debunkers in the world. You're doing exhaustive work. You have fun with that. But learning about new characters or learning new things about characters you didn't know and then seeing all the imaginative crossover scenarios play out? Splendid. I'll still go over all the episode's faults, for which there are many, but that's not going to affect my overall enjoyment or all the positive things I can find about this episode, for which there are many.
Analysis portions were pretty good. Had some fun cutaways like the yellow elephant and the impressible cutaway. Aw, that's so cute. They should kiss. Now for the fight, and remember when I said Widow vs. Widow was top 2 atmospheres? Well, I don't know, man. The purple sunset enveloping a city with the wispy music that slowly gets more and more ethereal as the fight goes on. Visually, it's one of the best sprite fights they've ever done with all the vibrant glowy shit that happens throughout the whole thing. Both characters are also showcased spectacularly. They both get neat dialogue exchanges like the Pog Supernova bit, and generally Ben's childlike demeanor and Hal's childlike demeanor play off each other well. Voice performances are also, dare I say, epic. Nicholas Andrew Louis as Ben was a little jarring to hear a teen voice on a 10-year-old Ben, but the performances as the rest of the aliens more than pick up the slack. But Bradley Gareth as Green Lantern, Christ! All the inflections, all the dialogue, even his delivery with the lantern oath, flawless. Like, seriously. The combat's also stellar. I partly wish Ben got to use more aliens, but at the very least, the variety was serviceable. Forearms certainly did the thing, but He Blast picked up the slack. Gray Matter got to be tiny and funny, and sure, throw Way Big in for a kaiju battle as well, fuck it. At the very least, it means that the Lantern Ring was able to get a decent chunk of variety in there as well. Honestly, it was a much bigger risk to be overwhelming to work on and watch if they included many more aliens into the mix. One of the most underrated parts is when Hal throws a fucking moon at Ben. Holy shit. And then Alien X comes to party, and honestly, that's kind of when the decline starts. Well, not before flicking Hal into space. Still, all Alien X does is summon clones, do some punchies and kickies, and then the slowest reality warp ever. But at least for that, it makes a little sense given Hal's resistance to it, so Alien X rewinds time to get the upper hand on Hal, ever so graciously reminds Hal fucking Jordan of all people how reality works, which led to a Shakespearean response from him. Thank you, Hal. Very cool. I love how Ben doesn't even follow Hal back in time to stop him from cutting his arm off with a pair of scissors. Now that's lame, given how they said the Omnitrix can detect threats and the scissors are the slowest goddamn thing ever. They even mentioned Hal had a speed advantage, so at that point, a literal white flash would have communicated that better, and then he busts out the Tims. Okay, that was a great fight, but that kind of went downhill. I wonder how the conclusion's gonna go. It's fucking rough. They made the great decision to have all the valid points relegated to the corner boxes. Nice, and just about everything they said contradicts previous statements and the fight. Hal's variety meant that Ben always played catch-up. Maybe as a general statement, but that's not at all what happened in the fight. If anything, it was Hal that was on the back foot. Yeah, Celestials have failed too, you know. Yeah, against other Celestials according to the analysis, but like, whatever. Alien X only recreated the universe because he couldn't stop it from being destroyed. Huh? They said in the analysis he didn't even notice it, so that's already contradictory. And even then, they admitted that he could create a universe, so they also brought up how most of the stuff X can do, Hal can do too, which, I mean, is fair, but doesn't help that the majority of the arguments are hellish anyway. Good God, my head hurts. Remember when I said I wasn't a death battle debunker? I do generally agree with the rest of the points and their general verdict of Hal winning. I don't have many issues with that on the surface, but when most of the verbal points are just fuck and directly contradict what happened in the animation, it sucks that an episode started out this godlike and ended up tanking so hard. I still don't know how the backlash got that bad though. But it did, and now I've demonstrated myself as part of the problem. Nice. Look, obviously I think Ben 10 versus Green Lantern is a good episode. Great episode. It's in the top 6. But even though the highs are some of the highest highs in the series, the lows are also some all-time lows. So I gotta find as much of a middle ground as I can. Being the gateway to the top 5 makes sense, but it is genuinely unfortunate. At least I can finally put this segment to bed. Jesus.
Immortality? Not on this show.
No comment. Anyway, I love how we haven't had a single bad Mega Man episode, but that also means that the Mega Man Battle Royale is the apex of that genre, and honestly, good luck trying to beat it anytime soon. I love the analysis portions. They feel brief, but not enough to where you're sitting there asking for more, and they even intertwine with one another. 'Twas fun learning about each of the boys, and they all got some funny ha-has in them, like the iconic Boomstick rant about Legend 2's ending and Legend 3's non-existence. And of course they work in the jack-off line, because honestly I can't fathom what it would be like to have a Mega Man anything without the jack-off line. On the negative, they also had X's rundown start off with the whole built better than classic right off the bat, and they call Volnut Diet Mega Man, so yeah, way to be suspenseful on that one, boys. Getting into the fight, and while it's on my mind, let's get the obvious glaring negative out of the way. Volnut getting kind of shafted by not really doing anything and then dying kind of quickly. Alright, cool. Anyway, yeah, this is great. I guess another immediate negative I can come up with would be how there's not a lot of variety in each Mega Man's arsenal, but let's also be realistic. To do that in a fight with 5 different combatants, all with similar color palettes and builds, would either be impossible or a 30-minute fight. But hey, for what they did work in, they did a phenomenal job with it. I like how at first all the boys are scrapping it out, but I like even more how it broke into a few different smaller fights. Because A, it would have been hellish to keep track of, and B, it makes sense given that Classic would fight X and Geo would fight EXE for most of the first half, given canonical connections and stat gaps and all that. And Volnut's there, did you forget? I also really like the black hole scene for the tensity it brought by stopping the music altogether. That's something we don't get too often these days, so I find it pretty epic. It even demonstrated the stat gaps between each Mega guy with the order and even pace at which they are killed. That said, the ending is kind of a mixed bag, mainly because it took me a solid year and a half to even realize what happened. I know that Geo possessed X and got blasted in a colossal fuck-off laser, starting with X's physical body disintegrating, followed by Geo's spirit thingy, but to me it just kind of looked like Geo bonked X and then he just somehow transformed back into Geo. I don't know, it's hard on my pea-brain, leave me alone! Also, the fact it's another laser death kind of stinks, but it at least beats out all the other fucking explosion deaths this season. Other than that, they went ridiculously hard on this one, with the crazy sprite animations, all the visual effects, the custom track Mega Mania going crazy. Seriously guys, why did you decide for 3 seasons in a row to have an episode following a premiere to be more compelling to watch and discuss? Who hurt you?
One of my favorite things to happen as a Death Battle fan is that occasionally you'd get hit with a fight that you didn't know you wanted so badly until it was announced. My initial reaction to Johnny Cage versus Captain Falcon was, well, given various other video game matchups, I can confirm that they hit me with one of them. But with how simple yet really fun this episode is, I'm glad it exists. And hey, it's the first episode in their John lineup where they have dudes named John try to kill another guy.
Analysis was simple, but enjoyable. I love how they listed all of Cage's movies in the sidebar of the background portion. Unironically, that was the one thing I hoped they would do with this episode, and they did it! The fight is fun. It's very straightforward, no character moments to speak of or any complex interactions with abilities or whatever, but really you can forego all that when the F-Zero track and boost panels get more character arc than a Mortal Kombat character and a guy who's most iconic and a crossover fighter. The setup is probably the most natural one we've discussed so far. Johnny talking about his next movie role being the next Captain Falcon, and then Falcon himself taking that in the most literal interpretation ever. It makes too much sense given how Mortal Kombat characters scrap it out because one dude sneezed a decibel too loud. The start is a little sluggish and Falcon's combo goes on a bit too long, but it all picks up when the boys drop. It works well given Johnny's unpredictability of the nut puncher and how punishable you are upon missing the Falcon punch. The sound Captain Falcon makes being reminiscent of his glorious death wail in Smash were very welcome too. Yeah, it's no surprise Falcon is mainly in a Smash representation, but I'm okay with it because what, were you looking for an explanation about the combat prowess of Captain Falcon? Anyways, after all that, look, they fight on F-Zero cars, do this thing where they dodge each other's punches, and then fight on boost panels. I hope dearly you weren't expecting some dissertation on why it's so cool, so screw you, we're moving on. The ending. Falcon, after being beaten to shit, summons his blue Falcon, and Johnny still tries to scrap it out despite being hit by a car. And then it does the Beyblade thing, and Johnny lets out one of the most guttural death cries I've ever heard. And then after missing his initial Falcon punch prior, Falcon finally gets to land it. All the while, RichaadEB gets to deliver his trademark RichaadEB solo. Of course that's how it ends, and of course it was one of the most glorious things on the planet. Sure, it results in yet another wide explosion shot, but the circumstances are hype as hell, so who cares? I love how even Boomstick gets caught up in the moment too. That's neat. Yeah, no, just dumb fun is all this needed to be, and it was the dumbest fun sprite fight of the season. You'll love to see it. Well, boys, I'm firmly planting my feet in the I believe Dragonzord vs. Mechagodzilla to be mid as hell when I first saw it, but now I think it's one of my favorites camp. So what, do I get like a badge for that, or? The analysis was pretty funny in that for every joke like Lil Ol Cybergoose, I love him, and calling Dragonzord the Big D, we get a different pronunciation of Kiryu from Wiz. I also don't care much how they just brush off Akane as some generic anime protagonist. I'm not versed by Godzilla and really most means, but still, that kind of just rubs me in the wrong way, not gonna lie, Wiz. For God's sakes, this is yet another close one, with Kiryu stated to be 49,000 times stronger and that the Dragonzord has no way to kill him. Sure! So the fight. Yep, they're already fighting. I don't know why they had two 3D fights with Torian on the team that predominantly had yellow hues shove us right in with no setup, but hey, if you like having two nickels, then there you go. Also, let's play this smart, and let's use the absolute zero cannon barely a minute into the fight after we toppled the Dragonzord once. Guys, you're confusing the hose. And, yeah, that's all my negatives out of the way. This fight goes crazy. I have no clue what it is, but sunset settings make me do a pogger face IRL. It looks so pretty and everything's lit super well. This 3D fight probably has the least jank out of any other 3D fights I've talked about so far, and that's saying something. Usually I'm not super into kaiju fights. I like me a good one, but they're often a bit too slow for my liking. This one has about all the impact I would hope for while still also getting agile occasionally. Seriously, I cannot understate how badass this shot of Kiryu jumping over Dragonzord's power staff is. In fact, both combatants have their times to shine, like Dragonzord shoving a chimney down Kiryu's gullet, Kiryu's eyes glowing when Godzilla takes over, Kiryu blocking this staff right here, Kiryu driving the staff that's already impaling him further in to keep the Dragonzord at bay so he can get blasted by the absolute zero cannon. Okay, yeah, now that I say all that out loud, this really is the Kiryu show, bud. Oh lord, it's a good one! The track, Draconic Robotics, is also phenomenal. Might sound like a generic rock track at first listen, but it's really epic when it needs to be and very atmospheric when it needs to be. And it works very well both in and out of the fight. Yeah, this fight's also kind of straightforward like Cage vs. Falcon, but we trade the hype factor for neat character moments and cinematic hype, so yeah, barely edges above. But there's no physical castration in this one, so I might have to bump it down a slot or two. How funny is it that we have a redemption arc, I guess, of a character that went from winning a previous death battle episode for all the stupid reasons to a character now getting obliterated for all the right reasons. I question this community's choice of words sometimes, but that doesn't change the fact that I was not looking forward to Ganondorf versus Dracula when it was announced because, oh dear God, remember his first episode? Yeah, I'm sad too. Something, this is the surprise hit of season 6. Oh me, oh my, oh joyous day. The analysis probably has the best ratio of story synopsis versus junk and funny ha-has of the season. They go over the characters thoroughly, as well as hit us with all-time classic lines like Dorf Lundgren, he got out the next day, kill Luigi, see, it's fun. The fight? Good lord. So this is the first ever fight animated in Source Filmmaker. An interesting choice of software given its aesthetic and Source Filmmaker-y traits, but the team of DevilArtemis, Daitomodachi, and Doovad Hohdan, again, dear God, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, made probably the single best debut animation in the show's history. Sure, most of them are known for comedy animations, but they know their shit and are very good at what they do, so props for gathering all the boys for making a breathtaking fight, even despite some classic unavoidable SFM jank. It's yet another phenomenal atmosphere. I know I said some great shit about Widow and Ben Hal, but this might take the cake. The night sky, the gothic architecture, the custom track, while not particularly notable, at least sets the tone wonderfully with the organ and low-pitched rock guitars. I love the dynamic of Ganon being this no-nonsense powerhouse, while Dracula gets to chew all the scenery and posture all over the place. It's great. They finally gave Ganon some overdue justice and gave him more than just a smash bullshit, and even then, the smash bullshit he does is way better than his fight with Bowser. Season 6 gave us 2 episodes where a Falcon Punch and a Falcon Punch clone are hype as hell. It all picks up when Dracula transforms. Stephen Kelly's voice performance gets these intimidating low filters. Weird how that happens twice this season too. And Drac even bites Ganon as a throw to transition to William Sopp screaming in the recording booth, somebody check up on him, he might actually be dying. Oh yeah, and his transformation too is also really fucking crazy. Let's not, you know. The clash between the two big boys is brief, but immensely satisfying to watch, and somehow, we're still not done. The castle they're fighting in gets destroyed, and for some reason, they decide to give us a line that rivals I've covered wars, well, I've fought them, and I've been playing human because what else would you have done?
You're not a man. You're a pig. Let me hear you squeal.
Jeez. And of course, Ganon does just that as Dracula drinks his blood. What a savage death. Great. Googly moogly. What an insane episode. Dare I say it would have easily topped the list if it were in most other seasons. So how could we possibly top all this off?
Oh, you know, only my favorite death battle episode ever.
Took us 6 of these season rankings, but we are finally here to talk about my personal #1 most tie-core episode of all time. And of course it went to the one with a Naruto character on it. I couldn't have it last season, so suck it. Legitimately. Where do I even begin with All Might versus Might Guy? Well, I guess like we always do, the analysis is phenomenal. Not too many standout jokes, but they're both connected by starting with the characters the Mights have influenced, then lead into the Mights themselves to give us the good story and versus discussion, while wrapping them up by saying they both found worthy successors and a shining example of what it means to be a hero and splendid ninja respectively, just like themselves. It's always fun to see the analysis portions directly connect, and it's immaculate how much love and passion went towards these characters. But you should know at this point, the fight is what matters most to me. And fine, I'll do the boring thing and get the negatives out of the way first. Yes, the frame rates with the characters animated in 2s can be kinda quirky at times, and yes, the effects sometimes go over the cinematic black bars in what I can guess wasn't really intentional, but is it really that important? We're at #1, boys. You think the Pokemon fan is gonna let a measly frame rate hold their enjoyment back? Oh gee, I wonder who helped animate the Yeah, I already know how that bullet point's gonna go. Moving on. If I may, I'd noticed a lot of surprisingly dynamic camera work, at least more than usual for a Torian, I guess, centered-ish fight. And you know what? I dig it. It helps sell the cinematic look even more and puts more oomph into each attack. But that's small potatoes compared to the real good shit. I guess weirdly enough, I have exactly 3 reasons why this is my favorite episode of all time. First off, Mighty. Brandon Yates and Therewolf Media have made phenomenal backing tracks, but for some reason they've never been on the same track before. Well, they've done it. The perfect backing track. It captures that heroism. The lyrics perfectly encapsulate both characters' arcs and makes the best use of both their talents. Brandon in particular, I associate more with his guttural screeching vocals, but he can put on a superhero mask and wear that shit very well. Reason 2. The dynamic. All Might and Might Guy share constant admiration towards each other, even when they decide to step on the gas with their saucier abilities. Unless I'm misremembering, which I might be, but I'm gonna say this anyway, this might be the first fight ever where the combatants don't want to break the other's face in, or don't want to showboat over the other, or don't want to fight over an item like a fucking Twizzler or something. Nope, just, hey, you're cool and I respect you and I want to give you the best fight you can have because you deserve it, and just, Jesus, man. It even allowed for cute little moments of levity, like Guy doing a billion flips to a non-existent crowd cheering and then just getting the perfectly cut screams treatment. It's so funny. And third, the ending. Of course it's the ending. Guy looks like he's lost, but sticks to his never give up mentality and opens the 8th gate. All Might does the same and prepares his strongest attack, all the while the most bitchin' guitar solo ever plays in the back, as both let out all the remaining power they have, with the cameraman going absolutely crazy, only for Guy to come out on top, but knows he too will meet the same fate. He chooses his last words not to revel in the victory or even mourn All Might's death. All he does is praise All Might once again for the fight and only wishes to do it again. They've done it. They've made the ending of all time. But I want to address 2 things with it. First off, Night Guy doesn't really have the same impact as it does in the source material. In the anime and the games, it absolutely shreds the recipient. Here, it's just a kick. The dragon then just wishes out like a projectile and then yet another widescreen explosion death. And honestly, if it were more accurate to the source, it would have made the ending worse for me. Yeah, I can't go a single video without some crackhead take, but I'm serious. I genuinely think Night Guy being just this one kick was the best case scenario. The way I interpret it, Guy didn't want All Might to go out like this, even while he's this into the fight. Let's be real, Night Guy is an awesome attack, but it being a respectful means to end a fight, it most certainly is not. Having Night Guy be just a kick and then bing bam bop the fight ends, paces the ending more naturally in my opinion. I'm sorry I'm like this, I don't do it on purpose. And second thing about the end is that, yeah, it did confuse me when I first saw it, since normally both combatants don't die, but they clarified it immediately, so I'm okay with it, especially since it made subsequent viewings better because of it. So yeah, All Might vs. Might Guy is my favorite death battle episode ever. Would I be as petty as to say another reason why I love this episode so much is partly because one of my favorite characters in fiction won? Well, I mean, I have a brain in my face and a dick on my groin, so sure. I mean, even if Guy lost, I doubt it still wouldn't be my favorite at that point. Seeing one of my favorite fictional characters putting on one of the most admirable fights I'd ever seen, all while giving his opponent the same admirable treatment I would hope for the guy I root for, it just makes me very, very happy. But my favorite did win, and that makes it all the more sweeter. I can't lose. I never lose. Go, Ty. Go, Ty. Go, Ty. Go.
And now we can consider Season 6 Dungeon Rings. And overall, how do you think I felt?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be much of a shocker to say that this is my favorite season of the show so far. It's got the best ratio between good, bad, and mediocre episodes. It's not as bloated as Season 2 is, despite how sometimes even its highest highs contest with most of the season. Obviously, it's no contest between this and Seasons 1, 3, and 4, but I was surprised to find I enjoyed it more than Season 5. Sure, the stinkers of that season are way worse and more prevalent than this season's stinkers, but I honestly thought that aside from Might, that Season 5's best episode wouldn't be better than Season 6's, but oops. But the more I reflected on this season, the more it made sense that this would be my favorite season I've talked about so far. I didn't just bring up Season 3 for the hell of it. Okay, I did, but Season 6 was the first season to not really innovate much since Season 3. However, unlike Season 3, this one was pretty good. Not worrying about what new wacky ideas to bring to the show meant that all the manpower can go behind just making the content good. I mean, it says a lot that even the worst episodes this season had way more positive takeaways than I can say for episodes like Thanos vs. Darkseid, or Beast vs. Goliath, or the Fuck You episode of Season 1. I mean, this season having my favorite episode of all time certainly helps. Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than that. Pretty epic, boys.
Yeah, that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching, boys. I'm gonna be taking another break from these death battle rankings, mainly so I can recharge myself, since I did kind of hammer away at this in the last few weeks to make it on time for the end of the year, which I'm actually recording these portions later than I normally do, so hopefully that stays true. If not, I'm gonna kill myself. After this, I'm gonna work on my yearly highlights compilation video because it's tradition, and generally I enjoy making those, and I hope that if you don't watch my non-death battle videos, at least give that a peek to see my shitlord demeanor in other areas. Because if these death battle rankings are done and over with and you still don't watch my other content, panic. On that note though, Oh dear Jesus God, give me the manpower. I really wanted these done by the end of this year, and other interests and outside obligations and me being lazy and stupid prevented that. But surely 2023 will be the year I do it, right? Right? But that's it. Thanks for watching. Hit the funny buttons if you feel like it. And I hope you all had a lovely holiday. I gotta go though. My Waddle Dee propaganda needs a little more work.